Today I'm going to be showing you how to mold your Nightguard from DentaRight. Some of the things you'll need is a bowl of hot water, preferably 3 inches deep and wide enough so your Nightguard doesn't stick to the sides or the bottom. Another thing you would need is another bowl to keep your hands wet while you're touching the Nightguard so it doesn't stick to them. Also, you'll need a mirror and a spoon. When heating the water, you could either use a stove or a microwave. When heating the water, make sure you heat it to boil and then let it cool for about a minute or so. If it's on the stove, make sure you completely take it off the stove. You don't want the water too hot or else it'll shrink the mouth guard or the Nightguard and it won't be able to fit in your mouth. Or if it's too cold, you won't be able to mold it at all. The first one is a Nightguard that has not been molded yet. The second one is an example of when the Nightguard is perfectly heated and perfectly timed. As you can see, the sides have started to curl just a little bit. This is the perfect time to take it out of the water and insert it in your mouth. The third one has been heated a little bit too much, but might still be manageable. And the last one has been heated way too much and is probably, most likely, not going to work. So now that we brought our water to boil and let it sit here for a few minutes, the key thing here is to make sure your water's not too hot where it'll shrink the mouth guard or the Nightguard, or too cold where it won't mold the Nightguard for you. So we're going to place it in. And the key thing to look for is when the top parts start to curl in slightly. That's how you know the Nightguard is ready to come out. And we want to fully submerge it to make sure the heat distributes evenly. So now we see it curling a little bit. We want to take it out, wet our hands, and look in the mirror. Line it up. Also, when you heat the Nightguard and you put it in your mouth, make sure you press firmly on your lips and cheeks and suck in like you're sucking on a lollipop. That will ensure that you get a perfect mold. So if you molded your Nightguard properly, you should be able to talk without it falling out. Now here's a Nightguard properly molded. As you can see, the indentations of the teeth are set in very nicely. For some people, there's an excessive amount on the front top and the back. You can actually trim that piece off, but you'll have to stay well above or above the gum line. So here's an example of a cut Nightguard and an uncut Nightguard. As you can see on the right hand side, the excess material has been trimmed off on the front and the back. Here I have now a trimmed Nightguard and an untrimmed Nightguard. This one is a little bit more comfortable putting it in with the excess material removed. I can still talk freely, and it still fits perfectly. So now that we brought our water to boil and let it sit here for a few minutes, the key thing here is to make sure your water's not too hot where it'll shrink the mouth guard or the Nightguard, or too cold where it won't mold the Nightguard for you. So we're gonna place it in. And the key thing to look for is when the top parts start to curl in slightly. That's how you know the Nightguard is ready to come out. And we want it to fully submerge it to make sure the heat distributes evenly. So now we see it curling a little bit. We want to take it out with our hands. And when placing it on the bottom, we want to make sure your tongue sits on top of the Nightguard. Also, when you heat the Nightguard and you put it in your mouth, make sure you press firmly on your lips and cheeks and suck in like you're sucking on a lollipop. That will ensure that you get a perfect mold. You'll know when the Nightguard is set properly when you can talk and it won't fall out. Now here is a properly molded Nightguard for the bottom teeth. You can see the impressions in the teeth and the gum line. So now here we have two sets of the bottom Nightguard, one perfectly molded and one imperfectly molded. This Nightguard for the bottom had the tongue placed above the Nightguard while molding, and this one did not. This one you should be able to talk freely and move your tongue without any problems. Just like this. And this is how the Nightguard would look if you improperly molded and stuck your tongue underneath. You can see the two flaps have folded on top, and you won't be able to talk and move your tongue while it's inserted. Once again, perfectly molded, tongue above, imperfectly molded, tongue underneath. Bottom Nightguard. Now we're going to show you how to heat the more thicker Nightguards. With these Nightguards, you're actually allowed to use a little bit more hotter water. And you can place it in, let it fully submerge so you get an even heat distribution within the Nightguard. And you'll know these Nightguards are ready when the sides start to turn clear. You can then take them out and start molding. So we wet our hands, grab the Nightguard, put them in here. You'll know the Nightguard is properly molded when you can talk and they won't fall out. Here you can see a perfect impression of your teeth and gum line. Now we're going to show you what it's like to try to mold the Nightguard when the water is not hot enough, or if you take it out before the sides start to curl. Putting the night guard in water that's not hot enough will result in the night guard not being able to mold properly. Bad mold. It'll fall right out of your mouth if you try to talk, and the impressions won't be very visible. So one of the things you do not want to do is put the night guard into the water while it is boiling. You also must make sure when you turn the stove off, you take the pot off the stove so it can properly start to cool. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you place the mouth guard in the water that's very hot. As you can see, it's rapidly shrinking. You could watch it. There it is right there. It's folded up and it has shrunken. So this is something that you definitely want to avoid. This mouth guard is definitely no good. You can see it's continuing to shrink. It is even stuck to my spoon. So this is something you do not want to do. So as you can see, if the water is too hot, it'll continually deform the mouth guard or the night guard. Right now it feels like a piece of gum, and that's something you don't want.